In a galaxy far, far away, there was a beautiful planet named Zephyria. It was ruled by the wise and brave Queen Zora. She was loved by her people for her kindness and fairness. Queen Zora lived in a grand palace made of shimmering crystal. It towered over the city, a symbol of strength and beauty. Zara spent her days listening to her people's problems and finding ways to help them. One day, as Queen Zora was walking in her palace gardens, the sky suddenly turned dark. Strange spaceships appeared, casting shadows over the city. The people of Zephyria looked up in fear, not knowing what was happening. The spaceships landed, and out marched an army of tall, green aliens with glowing red eyes. They were the Zorkans, a cruel race from a nearby planet. The Zorkans were known for their love of war and destruction. Leading the Zorkans was General Crag, a ruthless warrior with a scar across his face. He pointed at Queen Zora's palace and shouted, "Bring me the queen. She will be our prisoner." Queen Zora heard the commotion and rushed out to confront the invaders. She stood tall and proud, her golden hair blowing in the wind. "What do you want, General Crag?" she asked, her voice calm and strong. Crag sneered at her. "You have something we want, Queen Zora, the crystal of power. Give it to us, and we may spare your people." Zora's eyes widened. The crystal of power was an ancient artifact that gave Zephyria its strength and prosperity. She could not let it fall into the wrong hands. "I will never give you the crystal," Zora declared. "Leave now before it's too late." Crag laughed. "You have no choice, Queen Zora." He signaled to his soldiers, who aimed their weapons at her. Zora knew she had to act fast. She pressed a hidden button on her bracelet, and her own spaceship appeared, hovering above the palace. She turned and ran towards it, hoping to escape. But the Zorkans were too quick. They fired their weapons, hitting Zora's ship. It sparked and smoked, barely able to fly. Zora leaped inside and took off, but she knew the ship was badly damaged. As she flew away from Zephyria, Zora's heart ached for her people. She had to find a way to save them and protect the crystal of power. But first, she had to survive. Her spaceship shuddered and shook, warning lights flashing. Zora struggled to keep control as it hurtled through space. She scanned the star maps, looking for a safe place to land. Suddenly, a blue and green planet appeared on her screen. It was Earth, a primitive world that Zora had heard about but never visited. She had no choice. She directed her failing ship towards Earth, hoping to find help. As she entered Earth's atmosphere, Zora's ship began to break apart. Pieces of metal flew off, and smoke filled the cockpit. Zora coughed and tried to steer, but it was no use. The ground rushed up to meet her, and everything went black. Miles away, Ravi, a young farmer, was working in his fields under the starry night sky. He wiped the sweat from his brow and looked up, marveling at the beauty of the heavens. Suddenly, a bright light streaked across the sky. Ravi squinted, trying to make out what it was. It looked like a falling star, but as it got closer, he realized it was something else. The object crashed into Ravi's field, sending dirt and debris flying. Ravi fell back, shielding his face. When the dust settled, he cautiously approached the crater. In the center of the crater lay a strange, mangled spacecraft. Ravi had never seen anything like it before. Smoke rose from the wreckage, and sparks flickered in the darkness. As Ravi got closer, he heard a faint groan. His eyes widened as he saw a slender hand reaching out from the twisted metal. Someone was alive in there. Without hesitation, Ravi climbed into the crater and started pulling away the debris. He found an unconscious woman with golden hair, dressed in strange, shimmering clothes. She had a cut on her forehead, and her breathing was shallow. Ravi gently lifted her from the wreckage and carried her out of the crater. He knew he had to help this mysterious stranger, no matter who she was or where she came from. As he held her in his arms, the woman stirred slightly. Her eyes fluttered open, revealing brilliant blue irises that seemed to glow in the starlight. She looked at Ravi, confusion and fear on her face. Where am I?" she whispered, her voice weak. "Who are you?" Ravi smiled reassuringly. "You're safe now," he said softly. "My name is Ravi. I'm here to help you." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," she murmured, before slipping back into unconsciousness. Ravi looked up at the stars, wondering what incredible story this woman had to tell. Little did he know that her arrival would change his life forever, and that together they would embark on an adventure beyond his wildest dreams. With the injured alien queen in his arms, Ravi set off towards his home, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The night sky twinkled above them, hinting at the incredible journey that was about to unfold. An unlikely savior. In the quiet of the night, Ravi carried the unconscious alien woman into his humble farmhouse. He gently laid her on his bed, making sure she was comfortable. Ravi had so many questions racing through his mind, but for now, he knew he had to focus on helping this mysterious stranger. He carefully cleaned the cut on her forehead and bandaged it. Ravi couldn't help but marvel at her beauty, even though she was clearly not of this world. Her skin had a faint pearly glow, and her hair seemed to shimmer like strands of gold. As the night wore on, Ravi kept watch over the woman. He made sure she was warm and brought a cool cloth to place on her forehead. Ravi had always been a kind and compassionate person, ready to help anyone in need, but he never imagined he would be caring for an alien visitor. Just as the first rays of sun began to peek through the window, the woman stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, and she looked around, disoriented. When her gaze fell on Ravi, she gasped and tried to sit up. "Easy now," Ravi said gently, helping her to sit up slowly. "You're safe here. My name is Ravi. I found you last night in the wreckage of your ship." The woman looked at him, her brilliant blue eyes wide with wonder. You saved me?" she asked, her voice soft and melodic. Ravi nodded, smiling warmly. "I couldn't just leave you there. What's your name? Where are you from?" The woman hesitated for a moment, as if deciding whether to trust him. "I am Queen Zora of Zephyria," she finally said. "My planet was attacked by the evil Zorkans, and I was forced to flee. My ship was damaged in the escape, and I crashed here on your world." Ravi listened, amazed. A real alien queen, here in his home. It was almost too incredible to believe. "I'm so sorry, Queen Zora," he said. "That must have been terrifying. But you're safe now. I'll do everything I can to help you." Zora looked at him, tears welling up in her eyes. "Thank you, Ravi," she whispered. "Your kindness means more to me than you can know." Over the next few days, Ravi cared for Zora as she recovered from her injuries. He brought her food and water, and they spent long hours talking. Zora told him about her world, about the crystal of power and the threat of the Zorkans. Ravi listened, fascinated by her tales of distant planets and advanced technology. In turn, Ravi shared stories of his own life on Earth. He told Zora about his family, his love for farming, and the simple joys of life on his peaceful planet. Zora was amazed by the beauty and richness of Earth, so different from her own world. As the days passed, Ravi and Zora grew closer. They found comfort in each other's company, and a deep bond began to form between them. Ravi knew he would do anything to protect this brave and beautiful alien queen. One evening, as they sat together watching the sunset, Zora turned to Ravi with a serious expression. "Ravi," she said, "I need to find a way to get back to Zephyria. My people need me, and I must protect the crystal of power from the Zorkans. Will you help me?" Ravi looked into her eyes and saw the determination and courage there. He knew in his heart that he would follow her anywhere. "Of course, Queen Zora," he said, taking her hand. "I'll do whatever it takes to help you get home and save your people." Zora smiled, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you, Ravi," she whispered. "With you by my side, I know we can face anything." Together, they began to plan their next move. Ravi knew it would be dangerous, but he was ready to face any challenge for the sake of this remarkable woman who had come into his life. As the night sky filled with stars, Ravi and Zara sat close, drawing strength from each other's presence. They knew that the road ahead would be long and perilous, but they also knew that they had found something special in each other, a connection that transcended the vastness of space and the differences between their worlds. With determination in their hearts and a newfound sense of purpose, Ravi and Queen Zara prepared to embark on a journey that would test their courage, their ingenuity, and the power of their unlikely bond. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Together, they would face whatever lay ahead, united by the strength of their friendship and the unbreakable ties of fate that had brought them together on this small blue planet called Earth. Worlds collide. As the sun rose over the horizon, casting a warm glow across the fields, Ravi and Queen Zara sat together in the farmhouse, deep in conversation. They had spent the night discussing their plans, trying to find a way to repair Zara's ship and help her return to Zephyria. Ravi listened intently as Zara described the advanced technology of her world. "If we can find the right components," she said, "I should be able to fix the damage to my ship. But it won't be easy. Earth doesn't have the same resources as Zephyria." Ravi nodded, his brow furrowed in thought. "We'll find a way," he said, determination in his voice. "I have some friends in the city who might be able to help us. They work with advanced technology, and they might have the parts we need." Zara smiled, touched by Ravi's willingness to help her. "Thank you, Ravi," she said softly. "I don't know what I would do without you." Just as they were about to set out for the city, a loud rumbling sound filled the air. Ravi and Zara rushed outside, their eyes widening at the sight before them. Hovering above the fields was a massive spaceship, unlike anything Ravi had ever seen. It was sleek in silver, with glowing blue lights along its sides. As they watched, a hatch opened, and a figure emerged. It was a tall, regal-looking man with piercing green eyes and a crown atop his head. He was dressed in flowing robes of deep purple, and he carried himself with an air of authority. Zara gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "King Zor," she exclaimed. "My husband. He must have come looking for me." Ravi felt a mix of emotions, surprise, wonder, and a twinge of something else he couldn't quite name. He stood protectively next to Zara as King Zor approached them. "Zara, my love," King Zor said, his deep voice filled with relief. "I thought I had lost you. When your ship disappeared, I feared the worst." Zara stepped forward, taking King Zor's hands in her own. "I'm so sorry, Zor," she said. "I was attacked by the Zorkans, and my ship was damaged. I crashed here on Earth, but Ravi found me and took care of me." King Zor turned his gaze to Ravi, his eyes narrowing slightly. "A primitive human," he said, a hint of disdain in his voice. "I suppose I should thank you for your assistance, but we must be going now. Zephyria needs its queen." Ravi felt a flare of anger at King Zor's dismissive tone. "Wait," he said, stepping forward. "Queen Zara's ship is still damaged. We were just about to go find the parts to repair it. Let me help." King Zor looked at Ravi, surprise flickering across his face. "You would help us, human?" he asked. "Why?" Ravi met King Zor's gaze, his eyes filled with determination. "Because Queen Zara is my friend," he said firmly, "and because it's the right thing to do. On Earth, we help those in need, no matter where they come from." Zara looked at Ravi, her heart swelling with gratitude and affection. She turned to King Zor, her voice soft but strong. "Zor, please, let Ravi help us. He's proven himself to be a true friend and ally." King Zor hesitated for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Very well," he said. "We will accept your help, Ravi of Earth, but we must work quickly. The Zorkans are not far behind, and they will stop at nothing to capture Zara and the Crystal of Power." Ravi, Zara, and King Zor set to work, gathering the necessary components to repair Zora's ship. Ravi called upon his friends in the city, who were amazed and thrilled to learn of the alien visitors. Together, They worked tirelessly, racing against time to fix the damaged spacecraft. As they worked, Ravi couldn't help but notice the way King Zor looked at him, with a mix of curiosity, suspicion, and grudging respect. Ravi knew that he would have to prove himself to the alien king to show that a primitive human could be just as brave and resourceful as any advanced alien race. Finally, after hours of hard work, Zora's ship was repaired. The sleek spacecraft gleamed in the sunlight, ready to take to the skies once more. Zora turned to Ravi, her eyes filled with tears of gratitude. "Thank you, Ravi," she said, hugging him tightly. "I couldn't have done this without you. You've shown me the true strength and kindness of the human spirit." Ravi hugged her back, his heart full of emotions he couldn't quite express. "I'll always be here for you, Zora," he said softly. "No matter what happens, you'll always have a friend on Earth." As Zora and King Zor prepared to depart, a sudden explosion rocked the ground. Ravi and the others turned to see a fleet of Zorkan ships descending from the sky, their weapons aimed directly at them. "They found us," King Zor shouted, his face grim. "We must defend ourselves." Ravi looked at Zora, a fierce determination burning in his eyes. He knew that the battle ahead would be the fight of their lives, but he was ready. With Zora by his side and the strength of their unlikely friendship to guide them, Ravi knew that they could face anything the universe threw at them. Together, the primitive human and the alien queen stood tall, ready to face the challenges that lay ahead. The worlds had collided, but in that moment, Ravi and Zora knew that they were stronger together than they ever could be apart. The chase. As the Zorkan ships descended upon them, Ravi, Queen Zora, and King Zor sprang into action. The air crackled with energy as the alien vessels fired their weapons, sending beams of searing light towards the defenders. Ravi ducked behind a nearby boulder, his heart pounding in his chest. He had never seen anything like this before. The sheer power and technology of the Zorkan ships was beyond anything he had ever imagined. Queen Zora and King Zor stood their ground, their own weapons at the ready. They fired back at the Zorkan ships, their blasts of energy cutting through the air like lightning bolts. "Ravi," Zora shouted over the din of battle. "Get to safety. We'll hold them off." But Ravi shook his head, a fierce determination burning in his eyes. "No way," he yelled back. "I'm not leaving you to fight alone." With a burst of courage, Ravi leaped out from behind the boulder and raced towards Zora's ship. He knew that the spacecraft had its own defenses, and if he could just reach it, he might be able to turn the tide of the battle. Dodging the Zorkan blasts, Ravi sprinted across the field, his heart hammering in his chest. He could hear the sounds of the battle raging behind him, the cries of the alien warriors mingling with the roar of their weapons. Just as Ravi reached Zora's ship, a Zorkan vessel swooped down from the sky, its weapons trained directly on him. Ravi froze, his eyes wide with fear. But before the Zorkan ship could fire, a blast of energy struck it from the side. The ship exploded in a ball of flame, raining debris down upon the field. Ravi turned to see King Zor standing tall, his weapon smoking in his hand. The alien king nodded to Ravi, a look of grudging respect on his face. Emboldened by King Zor's support, Ravi clambered into Zora's ship and powered up the weapon systems. He had never flown a spacecraft before, but somehow the controls felt intuitive under his hands. With a roar of the engines, Ravi launched the ship into the sky, joining the battle against the Zorkan fleet. He fired the ship's weapons with all his might, sending blasts of energy hurtling towards the enemy vessels. Below, Queen Zora and King Zor fought side by side, their movements perfectly synchronized as they took on the Zorkan warriors hand to hand. They were a formidable team, their strength and skill unmatched by any of their foes. As the battle raged on, Ravi could feel the tide turning in their favor. The Zorkan ships were falling one by one, unable to withstand the combined might of the Zephyrian royals and their human ally. But just as victory seemed within reach, a massive Zorkan warship appeared on the horizon. It was larger than any of the other ships, its hull bristling with weapons and armor. "It's General Craig's flagship," Queen Zora cried out, her voice filled with dread. "He's come for the crystal of power himself." Ravi felt a chill run down his spine at the mention of the Zorkan general. He had heard stories of Craig's cruelty and ruthlessness, and he knew that they were in for the fight of their lives. The warship bore down on them, its weapons charging up for a devastating assault. Ravi, Zora, and King Zor braced themselves, ready to give everything they had to protect the crystal and each other. In that moment, Ravi felt a strange sense of calm wash over him. He knew that he was just a primitive human, facing off against the most advanced alien technology in the universe. But he also knew that he had something the Zorkans could never understand: the power of friendship, loyalty, and love. With a fierce battle cry, Ravi turned his ship towards the Zorkan flagship and accelerated to full speed. Zara and King Zor followed close behind, their own ships blazing with energy. They met the flagship head-on, their weapons flashing in a dazzling display of light and power. The very fabric of space seemed to tremble as the two forces collided, locked in a desperate struggle for survival. Ravi felt the ship shudder beneath him as the flagship's weapons found their mark. Warning lights flashed across the control panel, and the acrid smell of smoke filled the cockpit. But still, Ravi fought on, pouring every ounce of his strength and determination into the battle. Beside him, Zara and King Zor fought with equal ferocity, their faces etched with grim determination. For a moment, it seemed as though the flagship would overwhelm them, its sheer size and power too much for even their combined might. But then, with a final, desperate push, Ravi, Zara, and King Zor broke through the Zorkan defenses and struck at the heart of the warship. The flagship exploded in a blinding flash of light, sending shockwaves rippling through the fabric of space. The remaining Zorkan ships scattered, fleeing before the victorious defenders. As the smoke cleared, Ravi, Zara, and King Zor landed their ships back on the field, their faces flush with triumph. They had done it. Against all odds, they had defeated the Zorkan fleet and protected the crystal of power. Ravi stepped out of his ship, his legs shaking with exhaustion and adrenaline. Queen Zora ran to him, throwing her arms around him in a fierce hug. "You did it, Ravi," she cried, tears of joy streaming down her face. "You saved us all." King Zor approached, his eyes shining with newfound respect for the primitive human who had fought so bravely by their side. "Ravi of Earth," he said, his voice deep and solemn, "you have proven yourself a true hero today. On behalf of Zephyria, I thank you." Ravi felt a lump form in his throat, overwhelmed by the praise and gratitude of the alien royals. He had never set out to be a hero. He had only wanted to help his friend in her time of need. But as he looked out over the field, taking in the wreckage of the Zorkan ships and the smiling faces of Zara and King Zor, Ravi knew that he had been a part of something truly extraordinary. He had helped to save an entire planet, and in doing so, he had forged a bond of friendship that would last a lifetime. The chase was over, but Ravi knew that his adventures with Zara and King Zor were only just beginning. Together, they would face whatever challenges the universe threw their way, united by the power of their incredible friendship. Royal arrival. As the dust settled from the intense battle with the Zorkan fleet, Ravi, Queen Zara, and King Zor took a moment to catch their breath. The field was littered with the wreckage of the destroyed enemy ships, a testament to the incredible fight they had just won. But there was little time to rest. King Zor turned to Zara, his expression urgent. "My love," he said, "we must return to Zephyria at once. Our people need us, and we must ensure that the crystal of power is safe." Zara nodded, her face set with determination. She turned to Ravi, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Ravi," she said softly, "I cannot thank you enough for all that you have done. You have proven yourself to be a true friend and ally to Zephyria." Ravi felt a rush of emotion at her words. He had never imagined that he would play such a crucial role in the fate of an alien world, but he knew that he would do it all again in a heartbeat. Just as they were about to board their ships and set off for Zephyria, a brilliant light filled the sky. Ravi shielded his eyes, squinting against the glare as a massive spacecraft descended from the heavens. It was unlike anything Ravi had ever seen, a sleek, gleaming vessel that seemed to radiate power and majesty. As it touched down on the field, a hush fell over the gathered heroes. The ship's hatch opened, and a group of figures emerged. They were tall and regal, dressed in flowing robes of shimmering fabric. At their head was a man who could only be the king of Zephyria himself, King Zor's father. King Zor and Queen Zara rushed forward, bowing low before the Zephyrian king. Ravi followed suit, feeling a sense of awe and reverence in the presence of such a powerful figure. "Father," King Zor said, his voice filled with emotion, "we have succeeded in defeating the Zorkan fleet and protecting the Crystal of Power, thanks to the bravery of our human ally, Ravi." The Zephyrian king turned his gaze upon Ravi, his eyes piercing and intense. For a moment, Ravi felt a flicker of fear. What if the king rejected him, seeing him as nothing more than a primitive being? But then, to Ravi's surprise, the king smiled. "Rise, Ravi of Earth," he said, his voice deep and resonant. "You have done a great service to Zephyria, and for that, we are in your debt." Ravi stood, his heart pounding with excitement and wonder. He had never dreamed that he would be recognized by the ruler of an alien world, let alone praised for his bravery. The Zephyrian king turned to his son and daughter-in-law, his expression grave. Zora," he said, "we have much to discuss. The Zorkan threat is far from over, and we must prepare for the battles to come. But first, let us return to Zephyria and celebrate this great victory." With that, the royal party boarded their ship, along with Queen Zara and King Zor. Ravi watched as the vessel rose into the sky, its engines humming with power. But just before the ship disappeared from view, Queen Zora appeared at the hatch. "Ravi," she called down to him, "come with us to Zephyria. You are a hero to our people, and we wish to honor you properly." Ravi felt a rush of excitement at her words. To visit an alien world, to see the wonders of a civilization far beyond his own. It was a dream come true. Without hesitation, Ravi boarded Zora's ship and followed the Zephyrian vessel into the stars. As they hurtled through the vastness of space, Ravi couldn't help but marvel at the incredible journey he had undertaken. From a simple farmer on Earth to a hero of an alien world, it was a tale that he could scarcely believe, even as he lived it. As they approached Zephyria, Ravi's eyes widened in wonder. The planet was a dazzling jewel of blues and greens, its surface shimmering with the light of countless cities and towns. The ships touched down in the heart of the Zephyrian capital, a city of towering spires and gleaming domes. Ravi stepped out onto the alien soil, his heart racing with excitement and awe. He was greeted by a throng of cheering Zephyrians, their faces alight with joy and gratitude. They hailed him as a hero, a savior of their world, and Ravi felt a lump form in his throat at the outpouring of emotion. Queen Zara and King Zor led Ravi through the city, showing him the wonders of their civilization. Ravi marveled at the advanced technology, the incredible works of art and architecture, and the sheer beauty of the alien world. But more than anything, Ravi was struck by the warmth and kindness of the Zephyrian people. They welcomed him with open arms, treating him as one of their own, and Ravi felt a sense of belonging that he had never known before. As the days passed, Ravi found himself growing ever closer to Zara and Zor. They were more than just his friends. They were his family, bound by the unbreakable ties of shared experience and unwavering loyalty. And so, as Ravi stood before the Zephyrian people, honored as a hero and a true friend of their world, he knew that he had found his true calling. He had saved an alien civilization. Now, no matter what challenges lay ahead, he would always stand with Zara, Zor, and the people of Zephyria, ready to defend their world and their way of life, no matter the cost. For he was Ravi, the primitive human turned galactic hero, and his story was only just beginning. A debt of gratitude. As the celebrations of Ravi's heroism echoed through the streets of the Zephyrian capital, Queen Zara and King Zor led their honored guest to the royal palace. The towering structure seemed to grow from the very landscape, its spires reaching towards the dual suns that bathed the planet in an ethereal glow. Ravi couldn't help but feel a sense of awe as he walked through the grand halls, his footsteps echoing on the polished stone floors. Everywhere he looked, he saw evidence of Zephyria's advanced technology and artistry, from the intricate tapestries that adorned the walls to the holographic displays that flickered with images of far-off worlds. As they entered the throne room, Ravi's breath caught in his throat. The chamber was vast, with soaring ceilings and gleaming columns that seemed to stretch into infinity. At the far end of the room, two thrones sat upon a raised dais, their surfaces inlaid with glittering gems and precious metals. King Zor and Queen Zora took their seats upon the thrones, their regal bearing never more apparent than in this moment. Ravi stood before them, feeling suddenly small and insignificant in the face of such grandeur. But then, to his surprise, King Zor stood and descended from the dais. He approached Ravi, his expression solemn but kind. "Ravi of Earth," he said, his voice ringing through the chamber, "you have done more for Zephyria than any outsider in our history. You risked your life to protect our world, our people, and our most sacred treasure, the crystal of power. For this, we owe you a debt that can never be fully repaid." Ravi felt a lump form in his throat at the king's words. He had never sought glory or recognition for his actions. He had only wanted to help his friend in her time of need. Queen Zara rose from her throne and joined her husband, her eyes shining with gratitude and affection. "Ravi," she said softly, "you have shown us the true meaning of friendship and sacrifice. You have proven that even the most unlikely of allies can change the course of history. We are proud to call you a friend of Zephyria, now and forever." Ravi bowed his head, overwhelmed by the praise and emotion of the moment. He had never felt so honored, so valued, in all his life. King Zor placed a hand on Ravi's shoulder, his grip firm and reassuring. "From this day forward," he declared, "you are an honorary citizen of Zephyria. You will always have a home here and a place of honor among our people." The court erupted in cheers and applause, the sound echoing through the grand chamber like a thunderous ovation. Ravi felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes, moved beyond words by the outpouring of love and gratitude. Over the next few days, Ravi was treated to a whirlwind of experiences and wonders. He was given a tour of the royal palace, shown the marvels of Zephyrian technology and art. He was introduced to the most prominent members of Zephyrian society, from scholars and scientists to artists and diplomats. Through it all, Queen Zara and King Zor remained by his side, their friendship and support unwavering. They shared stories of their own lives and experiences, and listened with rapt attention as Ravi spoke of his humble beginnings on Earth. But even amidst the joy and celebration, a shadow hung over the proceedings. The Zorkan threat still loomed, and everyone knew that the battle for the crystal of power was far from over. One evening, as Ravi sat with Zara and Zor in the palace gardens, watching the twin suns set over the horizon, the conversation turned to the future. "Ravi," Zara said, her voice heavy with emotion, "we cannot thank you enough for all that you have done for us. But we fear that the road ahead will be long and perilous. The Zorkans will not rest until they have the crystal, and they will stop at nothing to get it." Ravi nodded, his expression grave. "I know," he said softly, "but I also know that we will face this challenge together. I will stand with you, no matter what comes." King Zor placed a hand on Ravi's arm, his eyes shining with gratitude and respect. "You are a true friend, Ravi," he said, "and together we will protect Zephyria and all that we hold dear." As the suns dipped below the horizon and the stars began to emerge in the darkening sky, Ravi felt a sense of purpose and determination settle over him. He had found his place in the universe, and he would fight with all his strength to defend it. For he was Ravi, the primitive human turned galactic hero, and his destiny was intertwined with the fate of Zephyria itself. Come what may, he would stand tall and proud, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. And with Queen Zara and King Zor by his side, he knew that anything was possible. Together, they would safeguard the crystal of power, protect the people of Zephyria, and forge a future bright with hope and promise. The debt of gratitude had been paid, but the bond of friendship would endure forever. And Ravi knew that he would always be ready to answer the call of duty, no matter where it might lead him in the vast and wondrous universe. An intergalactic adventure, as the Zephyrian suns rose over the horizon, casting a warm glow across the royal palace. Ravi stepped out onto the balcony of his guest quarters. He took a deep breath, savoring the sweet alien air and marveling at the incredible journey that had brought him to this moment. Just a few short weeks ago, he had been a simple farmer on Earth, tending to his fields and living a quiet, unassuming life. But now he was a hero of an alien world, a friend to royalty, and a defender of the most powerful artifact in the universe. It was almost too much to believe, but as Ravi looked out over the sprawling city below, he knew that it was all real. He had found his true calling, and he would embrace it with all his heart and soul. A soft knock at the door stirred Ravi from his thoughts. He turned to see Queen Zara and King Zor entering the room, their expressions a mix of excitement and solemnity. "Ravi," Zara said, her voice warm and affectionate, "we have a surprise for you. Please, come with us." Intrigued, Ravi followed the royal couple through the winding halls of the palace until they reached a large, circular chamber. In the center of the room stood a towering machine, its surface gleaming with strange, alien technology. "This," King Zor said, gesturing to the machine, "is a Zephyrian starship. It is one of the most advanced vessels in our fleet, capable of traversing the vast distances of space with ease and precision." Ravi's eyes widened in wonder as he took in the sleek lines and glowing panels of the ship. He had never seen anything like it before, and the thought of exploring the galaxy in such a craft sent a thrill of excitement racing through his veins. Queen Zara stepped forward, a small ornate box in her hands. "Ravi," she said, her voice trembling with emotion, "we want you to have this." She opened the box, revealing a shimmering crystalline object nestled within. It was a miniature replica of the crystal of power, crafted with exquisite detail, and imbued with a soft, pulsing light. "This is a symbol of our gratitude and friendship," Zara said, pressing the crystal into Ravi's hands. "It will always remind you of your time on Zephyria, and of the unbreakable bond that we share." Ravi felt tears welling up in his eyes as he clutched the crystal to his chest. He had never received a gift so precious, so meaningful, in all his life. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice choked with emotion. "I will treasure this always." King Zor placed a hand on Ravi's shoulder, his expression one of pride and respect. "And now," he said, "it is time for you to embark on your greatest adventure yet." He led Ravi to the starship, guiding him up the ramp and into the gleaming interior. The ship was a marvel of technology, with sleek consoles and holographic displays that flickered with strange alien symbols. "This ship is yours, Ravi," Zor said, his voice filled with excitement. "It will take you back to Earth, and then out into the stars, to explore the wonders of the universe, and to defend the innocent from those who would do them harm." Ravi's heart raced with anticipation as he took his seat at the helm of the ship. He had never flown a spacecraft before, but somehow, he knew that he was ready for this moment. Queen Zara and King Zor stood before him, their faces alight with pride and affection. "Remember, Ravi," Zara said softly, "you will always have a home here on Zephyria, and a place in our hearts. No matter where your adventures take you, know that we will be with you, always." With a final embrace and a tearful farewell, Ravi powered up the ship's engines and lifted off from the palace landing pad. He soared out over the city, marveling at the incredible view of Zephyria from above. As he broke through the planet's atmosphere and out into the vast expanse of space, Ravi felt a sense of exhilaration and purpose that he had never known before. He was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, to explore strange new worlds, and to defend the innocent from the forces of evil. With the crystal of friendship and gratitude glowing softly at his side, Ravi set a course for Earth, eager to share his incredible story with his loved ones and to prepare for the adventures to come. For he was Ravi, the primitive human turned galactic hero, and his journey was only just beginning. He had found his place in the universe, and he would make the most of every moment, every opportunity, to make a difference and to leave his mark on the cosmos. As the stars streaked by outside the ship's viewports, Ravi smiled to himself, filled with a sense of wonder and excitement. He had no idea what the future held, but he knew that he was ready to face it head-on, with courage, determination, and an unshakable bond of friendship that would guide him through whatever lay ahead. And so, with a heart full of hope and a spirit full of adventure, Ravi soared off into the unknown, ready to embrace his destiny and to make his mark on the universe, one intergalactic adventure at a time.